Just a couple of years ago, AI threatened to replace the developers. Vibe coding was everywhere, this sci-fi dream of building software by having a conversation with AI. But if you look at the recent trend, you'll see that all it managed to do was highlight how important engineers actually are. But before we dive into what's happening right now and how does it actually help us, let's see how did we get there. It all started with autocomplete. And I don't mean the syntax prediction autocomplete that we've had forever. And even then there were talks about developers forgetting how to write the code because they will just use the autocomplete for everything. But I mean the early AI days autocomplete. I remember the feeling when I had a copilot in my IDE and it just suggested a function based on the function name or the comment that I wrote, and it felt like, wow, that was impressive. But it was very local, it was still controlled by an engineer, and it did not make such a profound impact on our day-to-day lives. I specifically remember looking at unit tests that were created by AI, and I was not impressed. But at some point we moved on from autocomplete being AI completing our code to us completing AI code, or more likely fixing the bugs that it created. And that moved us to the vibe coding era. And don't get me wrong, there was a small historical period when we got the cursor and all the early IDEs that would not just autocomplete functions for us, but it would create files for us. It was not exactly vibe coding yet, but we were getting there. But this period was so short that it's not even gonna worth to mention. With vibe coding, we got the whole app in one go. You could put one prompt in and get a working Airbnb or Facebook, or I don't even remember what everybody was cloning back in the day. Was it really working? No, but it gave you the impression that it did. It looked good. It had some buttons you could click, and you could continue giving prompts to AI to improve it. Supposedly. The problem with vibe coding was that you quickly went into the regression because every new change was changing all of it. And I remember for me personally, when I was testing vibe coding as a thing, I asked AI to remove the mock data to replace it with an actual data from the database, and it just deleted half of the app. And most importantly, those vibe coded projects were impossible to maintain because you couldn't rely on the prompts to make changes, but you also couldn't maintain the code yourself because that was an unmaintainable mess. I thought back then, and I still think, that vibe coding is kind of great for prototypes and for a boilerplate without business logic. I'm not going to create a whole project on my own unless it's a new technology that AI is not really familiar with. Like, strangely, Claude plugins and Claude Marketplace, AI just cannot create them. You would have to create all the JSON files yourself or be extremely lucky, because for me it never gets it unless it's like the 10th try. I cannot say that vibe coding died, but it kind of moved to this position of the POC and prototype. And here we enter the era of context engineering, because there was a logical assumption that more information means better results. You cannot expect AI to know your code base and to know your business unless you tell it what to do, right? And this is completely true. Context engineering became very popular at some point. Everybody was collecting the information to give to their AI. They were obsessing about retrieve augmented generation, building their own vector embeddings, and optimizing grabs. And don't get me wrong, there was a great effort that brought us to where we are today. But at that point, it just started polluting the context window so much that LLMs became very dumb. There was plenty of advice to stop at using 40% of your context window, because after that, AI is not AIing. And look at that. Sending one prompt to AI didn't work. Sending loads of data to AI didn't work. So what do? Well, naturally, we learn to manage. And here comes agentic engineering. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if the name is gonna stay, because the names seem to change all of the time, but the idea of agentic engineering, or at least how I understand it, because if you take a look at all of the resources explaining agentic engineering, you will see that first of all, they are very good at explaining engineering. Like, it's getting ridiculous at some point. You want to learn about what agentic engineering is, and it just explains you what a software engineering is. Thank you, we know. Sorry for this small tangent. Let's return back to what agentic engineering is and why is it better for us as engineers than everything that happened before in the AI space. And again, small disclaimer, this is how I understand agentic engineering as a developer who is working with AI every day. Despite this channel being my personal channel with my personal opinions that have nothing to do with my actual work, I am in a way influenced by the fact that I built tooling for AI, and it's literally my job. So when you hear me talking about it, remember that I am trying to keep an open mind, but if you're influenced by something 40 hours a week, it will probably affect your opinions somehow. So from my perspective, agentic engineering is about the tooling and not exactly the model. I mean, don't get me wrong, the tooling is not going to be working if we don't have a large language model operating, but without the tooling, it's just a chatbot. And what kind of tooling am I even talking about? As I mentioned in the context engineering part, it is incredibly important to give enough context to a model so it would understand what to do. But also it's important to not give too much information to the model so it's not overwhelmed and spending the context window on something useless. So managing the memory is crucially important. And by managing the memory, I mean that you know exactly what gets loaded into your AI agent when it launches, and it should be some kind of a memory file or CloudMD or cursor rules or whatever you have in your agent. It has to know where to look for information. It's extremely important to include references and not actual information, and make sure that your agent don't go reading all the references at once. And I am not just talking about textual information about your wiki with your MD files or whatever you have. I'm also talking about images, about resources. I'm talking about MCPs, and I'm also talking about CLIs. And of course, apart from all of these tools, you need to include instructions how to use them, and most importantly, when to use them. And of course, how you do it exactly is the engineering part of agentic engineering. You have to be pretty creative and figure it out for yourself because of two reasons. First of all, it's a very new thing and nobody knows what they're doing. And the second one is that we all have very different workflows, and trying to adopt something that somebody else is doing is probably not going to work for you, because chances are you've been a software engineer for a while and you're doing things in a particular way, and trying to append everything at once will only lead to you being unproductive, unhappy, and extremely slow. So when it comes to agentic engineering, you have to adapt the tooling to your workflow, not the other way around. For example, I have this ideal workflow that relies on AI in the parts that I don't want to do or that are quicker to do with AI, but I did not myself adopt it yet. I am taking little pieces from it and trying to fit it into my daily life. And every time I take too much at once, it does not work. So little pieces. I personally use Claude Code a lot for both work and personal projects, and I'm a huge fan of Claude plugins because all of these commands, agents, skills, they're just giving me a headache. And if I can bundle it up in one place and call it something meaningful and create a workflow out of it, sign me up, I'm all in for this. But who knows, maybe you have a different preference. Leave a comment describing your workflow, if it includes AI or not, and if it's something better than just writing prompts to AI every time. Another thing about agentic engineering for me is that everything is discussion based, not prompt based. And I think we had a lot of laughs about prompt engineering becoming a thing, and then people saying that it's a thing because prompt engineering is kind of difficult. And both of the things are actually true. Writing a prompt in a way that AI understands exactly what you need is a skill. And it's not that easy, and it really depends on the model that you're using as well. It's really tempting to go into this rabbit hole sometimes. But on the other hand, just writing prompts is not going to get you very far. Just like in life with people, you don't want to give an instruction, you want to have a conversation. And this is precisely what you need to do with your AI. And it can be in a different way. You can ask it for a plan and chat with it. I always ask Claude to ask me questions and always tell me if there is something missing from product requirements, because I feel like this really helps to address some of the gaps that I have. And I have to tell you, while working on my pet project Shorty, I'll link the video in the description, although I've been having pretty big conversations with Claude and it gave me a lot of product requirements that I was missing, just one small conversation with another human brought me 10 times more information than a conversation with Claude. And another thing about agentic engineering is that just like with the code, you don't want to repeat the code, you really don't want to repeat your prompts, and more importantly, you don't want to repeat your mistakes. One of the most important things you have to do with your AI agent is to make sure it learns from everything it did. There is no point in spending an hour and I don't know how many tokens retrieving information to fix one bug and then not saving this information anyway. There is no point in having back and forth for 2 hours just to use some CLI tool and not saving this instruction. And I am so guilty of not doing it because this is like a new muscle that you have to train. And I keep forgetting about it, and at some point I'm just so relieved that we finally fixed something that I don't want to anymore. Luckily, there are hooks for that. But yeah, still finding the best way to do it. So I promised to tell you why is it better, and I think by now you've probably guessed it yourself. Agentic engineering is better than all of that stuff we mentioned before, just because it gives you the control back. You are still using all of your engineering knowledge and the knowledge of the system and even knowledge of the tools. You're just not the one writing the code. You're adapting the new tools to your work, not the other way around. And we've been there. We know the ropes. Every time new framework comes out, new revolutionary tool comes out, we adapt. This is what we did with React. This is what we did with Docker and Kubernetes. This is what we did with the cloud. And probably with the internet as well, but that was before my time. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is a silver bullet and this is a solution to all of our problems. This approach has a lot of problems. Most importantly, the amount of context switching is becoming ridiculous. You can work on a lot of things at once and you're kind of expected to, because this time writing the code is no longer required, but it doesn't work like that. You're still putting an enormous amount of energy and mental effort into a task, and having to do 10 tasks instead of 2 at the same time is not going to help anyone. Can we fix this problem? Can we use AI to fix the multitasking? I don't know. We have to wait and see. Right now, I see it as one of the biggest problems. And of course, just because these are the tools and you're in control, it doesn't help. We're all humans and we're tired, especially after all of that context switching. And sometimes we just really want to open a terminal, tell Claude or whatever agent you're using to just do the task. And that's it, because we're human and we're tired. And then we're not in control. Then we are just going back to vibe coding again. We cannot maintain it, we cannot fix it, and we're just drowning in regressions and tech debt. Who doesn't? So I'm not entirely optimistic about this whole agentic engineering thing, but I am kind of happy that, first of all, we can say, I told you so. And second, because maybe it will lead to a brighter future. So what is coming next? I'm personally very much reminded of the development of the containerization. First, we got the Docker, just the way to package an app so it can run anywhere. Then we got Kubernetes, just to manage the instances of Docker. And then we got managed Kubernetes instances. We went from containerizations to orchestration. And this is the same thing that I see happening with AI. We are learning to orchestrate the tools. We're learning to orchestrate the agents or teams of agents. Hello, Claude. We just need to figure out a way to make this orchestration automatic. We need to orchestrate the orchestration. And maybe in a way it's going to help us reduce this cognitive load a little bit, because at least we're not going to be thinking about that while working on our task. And I think the most important part is changing the way we converse, and not just with our agents, but between the agents and humans. Like I mentioned before, one conversation with a capable human is worth thousands of conversations with AI, and we need to account for that. We don't want to lose this human ingenuity, but we also don't want to lose the effectiveness that AI provides. So in a way, we need to communicate between all of us in some way. I don't know about you, but I am so up for having an AI agent joining the video calls and forgetting to mute. Thank you for watching this video till the end. And if you're interested how I'm using agentic engineering, you can check out the videos about Shorty. It's the mobile app that I'm building, mostly for the lols, but also I think it's a cool app. And I'll see you there.